Your home isn't haunted by ghosts. It's haunted by the things you've ignored, the drawer you never open, the corner you haven't touched in years, the mirror that reflects your life but slightly distorted. Most people believe misfortune comes from outside, from bad luck, betrayal, bad timing. But what if the energy blocking your money, your health, your peace was quietly waiting inside your own walls? Imagine walking through your living room and feeling a strange heaviness you can't name. You tidy up, you light a candle, but the weight stays. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because your space is holding on to something you haven't seen. When was the last time you questioned what your home is reflecting about your life? Is it stuck just like you? Or is it quietly multiplying emotions you don't even notice anymore? Today, we go beyond decor and design. We enter the unseen language of space, where energy either supports your path or silently steers it off course. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you won't just look at your house differently. You'll feel it. And that one shift could be what finally changes everything. Section 1. 7 Negative Feng Shui Signs. Number 1. The forgotten shelf, where energy becomes dust. You might think it's harmless. A shelf behind a cabinet, a drawer in the hallway, the top of the fridge collecting keys, papers, or things you meant to throw away, but never did. But in the language of energetic design, these aren't just neglected spaces. They are silent graveyards for energy. And the longer they stay untouched, the more they begin to affect the invisible architecture of your life. Every home has them, a place you walk past without seeing anymore. The shelf where expired coupons, cracked picture frames, forgotten books, and dead batteries gather. It starts small, a quick drop of something you'll deal with later. But over time, it becomes a dumping ground, a still zone, a space where nothing moves. And in Feng Shui, when energy doesn't move, it doesn't just stay still, it decays. In traditional Feng Shui theory, each part of your home is mapped to an energetic grid known as the Bagua. These zones correspond to areas of your life: wealth, relationships, health, clarity, purpose. The moment a zone becomes stagnant, it doesn't just affect that area spatially. It begins to mirror into your life energetically. Especially when forgotten spaces sit in crucial corners like the southeast, wealth, northeast, knowledge, or center, overall balance, the energetic consequences multiply. Dust in this context is not just physical, it's symbolic. It's what accumulates when there's no attention, no care, no presence. A forgotten shelf becomes an altar of disconnection. And its presence may manifest in your own life as difficulty focusing, recurring money blocks, chronic fatigue, or strange tension in relationships that seem to come from nowhere. You may find yourself overworking, yet never feeling accomplished, organizing your schedule while internally feeling chaotic, or struggling to rest even in moments of stillness. The 5-element theory teaches us that each item and space in your home carries elemental influence: wood, fire, earth, metal, or water. A forgotten shelf tends to become a chaotic blend of all 5 without harmony. Broken items introduce mental imbalance, linked with grief, sharp emotion, or harsh self-judgment. Dust and disorder amplify earth imbalance, weighing down clarity and nourishment. Stacked papers and books often overflow the wood element, representing overstimulation or ideas that never come to life. So what's the fix? You don't need a renovation, you need a reconnection. Begin by selecting one forgotten shelf or drawer. Light a small candle nearby, not just for light, but as a symbol: I see you now. Touch everything on that shelf. Ask yourself, does this item still belong to the version of me I'm becoming? If the answer is no, release it. Wipe the surface clean, not just with a cloth, but with a moment of breath, gratitude, and clarity. Then transform the space into a source of living energy. Add a round bowl with natural elements, smooth river stones, a plant, a scented sachet. These introduce balance and remind the subconscious this space is alive again. If the shelf is in a shadowed area, place a soft light or even hang a tiny wind chime above to invite movement. One powerful tip: write a word of intention, clarity, abundance, peace, and place it subtly on or beneath the space. It becomes an energetic instruction. And finally, reflect gently. What part of myself have I been shelving? What memory, talent, or desire have I left in the corner of my life waiting to be dusted off? Because a shelf that holds only forgotten things is no longer a shelf. It becomes a mirror, one that quietly reflects what we are ready, but afraid, to let go of. And when you clean it, light it, and reclaim it, you're not just redesigning space. You're reopening a circuit in your life that has long been disconnected. What forgotten shelf in your home is asking for your return? And when you return to it, who might you find waiting there? Number 2, the open bathroom door, the unseen energy leak. You wouldn't leave your wallet open on the street, but every day you might be leaving your energy wide open without realizing it. It's a small habit that most people don't think twice about. You step out of the bathroom and walk away, leaving the door ajar. It feels harmless, convenient even. Maybe you think it keeps airflow moving, or simply haven't considered it worth your attention. But from the perspective of energetic design, that open door is not just revealing a private space. It's silently releasing the chi that your home needs to thrive. Bathrooms are essential, but they are also energetically complex. They are the designated exit points of the home, where water, waste, and residual energy are carried out. In Feng Shui, water represents wealth, clarity, and emotion. And the bathroom, by its very function, is constantly involved in the process of removal, release, and downward movement. The space is dominated by the water element, which in excess can weaken the fire of passion, the earth of stability, and even the metal of discipline. That's why this space is not just about sanitation. It's about symbolic loss if left unmanaged. When a bathroom door is left open, especially if it faces a front entrance, kitchen, bedroom, or hallway, the outflow energy is no longer contained. Instead of cycling cleanly out of the home, the bathroom's draining vibration begins to spread. Think of it like a scent that seeps into nearby rooms. It's subtle. You might not notice it right away, but over time the effects build. The most direct energetic consequence is financial leakage. Many homeowners report that no matter how much they earn, money feels like it disappears quickly. They cover all the bills, but there's rarely anything left. Projects stall. Opportunities fall through. The flow is active, but it's flowing in the wrong direction. Mentally, the effects can show up as a sense of scatteredness or emotional fatigue. You may find it harder to focus, more easily irritated, or even emotionally drained by midday, despite having rested. Why? Because the space around you is echoing that same motion. Outflow, loss, leakage. Physically, the open door pathway can contribute to what Feng Shui refers to as weakened qi currents. This can influence respiratory systems, immune response, or chronic exhaustion, especially in homes where the bathroom aligns with the center or directly with the stove or bed. Relationships can be affected too. When emotional containment is lost symbolically in the home, conversations tend to become repetitive, solutions slip away, and communication gets lost down the same spiral. But the remedy is not extreme. You don't need to redesign your entire floor plan to restore balance. You simply need to reclaim containment. Begin by keeping the bathroom door closed as a non-negotiable daily ritual. This small act alone interrupts the energy leak. If your bathroom opens into a main space, like a living room or hallway, add a soft barrier to gently contain its pull. A sheer curtain, a tall plant, or a wooden folding screen works beautifully. Choose natural textures like linen, bamboo, or cotton to soften the energy without blocking light. Consider scent as a regulating force. Diffuse purifying essential oils like rosemary, lemongrass, or eucalyptus outside the bathroom entrance. These create a sensory shift between rooms, an energetic signal that says, "This space is now contained." One of the most overlooked adjustments, the mirror inside the bathroom. A mirror facing the door can multiply the leak, doubling the exit energy. If possible, relocate it or soften its impact with a wooden frame or soft lighting to minimize reflection intensity. Lighting also matters. Bathrooms should feel fresh and bright, not cold or harsh. A warm-hued bulb can transform the energy from sterile to nurturing. Think of it like inviting clarity rather than enforcing exposure. And if you're ready for a deeper ritual, place a small bowl of Himalayan pink salt behind the toilet or near the drain, changing it every 2 weeks. Salt absorbs stagnant energy and grounds water-dominated spaces. This symbolic act sends a clear message to your environment. Outflow is managed, energy is respected. You might be surprised at how quickly these small shifts add up. The moment the leak is sealed, you may begin to notice more mental clarity, improved finances, or even an unexplainable lift in your mood. Why? Because you've stopped the silent drain. You've redirected the current. You've turned a subtle loss into a mindful flow. So here's the deeper reflection. What else in your life have you left open that should be protected? What emotional door, what belief, what unconscious habit is letting your power seep away little by little, day by day? And if you could close one door, not to shut out the world, but to hold in your essence, what might finally stay with you? Number 3, the lonely plant growth without connection. A plant isn't just something you place. It's someone you're in relationship with. You brought it home with good intentions. Maybe it was a money tree, a pothos, or a peace lily. You heard it brings wealth, good energy, or harmony. You placed it carefully in the corner by the window, maybe near the entrance. And then you walked away, not in neglect, but in habit. You watered it sometimes. You liked how it made the space look, but over time you stopped noticing it, and it started shrinking, not in size, but in spirit. This is one of the most misunderstood truths in Feng Shui. A plant without emotional presence is not a source of growth. It becomes a symbol of isolation. And no matter how healthy it looks on the outside, if it's tucked in a forgotten spot without human interaction, it reflects energy that is alive but not connected. In the energetic rhythm of a home, that's the equivalent of potential that never quite manifests. In Feng Shui, plants embody the wood element: growth, vision, flexibility, upward movement. They thrive on sunlight, airflow, and attention. But their deeper power lies in their ability to anchor yang energy, dynamic, active Kai, into space through life resonance. The moment you introduce a plant into your home, it begins tuning into your field. It absorbs your rhythms, your emotions, even your silence, and it responds. If a plant is thriving in a forgotten corner, it may not be a sign of good energy. It might be a sign that it's quietly soaking up what you've chosen not to deal with. Let's take a common example. You place a ZZ plant in your wealth corner hoping to activate abundance. But the spot is dim, cluttered, and rarely visited. Over time, the plant loses vibrancy. You try moving it, but nothing changes. It isn't just about lighting or watering schedules, it's about the energetic neglect. In that space, the plant has become lonely, not just unloved, but unplugged. And in return, the wealth energy you hope to grow becomes hesitant, delayed, disconnected from you. From the five-element perspective, an imbalanced wood energy, represented by a neglected or isolated plant, manifests as stagnation in planning, misalignment with long-term goals, and emotional withdrawal. You may find yourself feeling stuck despite effort, procrastinating on ideas that once felt exciting, or losing touch with inspiration. On the relational level, it mirrors disconnection. Partners stop communicating deeply. Families go through the motions but lack shared presence. Even your sense of direction may feel fuzzy, like you're moving but not sure why. The remedy, as always in Feng Shui, is less about action and more about intention. You don't need a greenhouse, you need re-engagement. Begin by revisiting your plant. Sit with it. Yes, sit. Notice its leaves. Are they open or curled? Is the soil dry? Is the pot aligned with the rest of your room, or is it slightly crooked? These subtle details reflect the energetic dialogue the plant has been holding alone. Speak to it, not as a superstition, but as a ritual of reconnection. Whisper gratitude. Say something simple like, "Thank you for holding energy while I've been busy." Feel the shift in the space. It's immediate. Next, adjust its placement. Don't just choose a spot that looks good. Choose one that feels reciprocal, where you walk past often, where light moves, where the plant becomes part of your daily rhythm. If possible, align the plant with natural elements. Near a window, beside a wooden surface, or next to a flowing curtain. This activates its wood element with support from nature's breath. Pair it with an intentional object, a stone with a word etched into it, a small piece of driftwood, or a photo that brings joy. These companions amplify the symbolic relationship between human presence and plant energy. Together, they create a small but powerful energetic altar, a living reminder of connection, care, and growth. If your plant has been dying or not thriving, resist the urge to blame it or yourself. Instead, ask, what part of me stopped engaging with this corner of my life? What am I ready to water again, not just in soil, but in spirit? Replacing the plant is not the answer. Restoring relationship is. And finally, water it with awareness. Once a week, as you pour water into the roots, offer an affirmation. Something like, "As you grow, so does my clarity," or "May we both flourish in presence and balance." This single act transforms a routine into a ritual. The plant will respond, not because it hears words, but because it receives your vibration. You are no longer two separate entities. You are part of the same living field. So ask yourself this. In your home right now, is there a plant that's still alive but quietly forgotten? And what part of you does it mirror? Because sometimes what we call just a plant is really a prayer. A prayer we once made for growth and now must return to if we're ever going to bloom again. Number 4, the unbalanced entryway, where chaos walks in first. You may not realize it, but the way energy enters your home is shaping how everything unfolds inside, including your money, your clarity, and your peace. In the language of architecture, the entryway is a functional space, a passage between outdoors and in. But in the language of energy, the entryway is sacred. It is not just the mouth of the home, it is the gatekeeper of intention. And yet for most people, this area becomes an afterthought. Shoes are scattered. A recycling bin sits to the side. The welcome mat is worn, crooked, or missing altogether. Lighting is too harsh, or worse, too dim. The moment someone walks in, including you, the message is not welcome. It's chaos lives here. This is not just poor design. It's an energetic miscue with deep implications. In Feng Shui, the entryway is where Kai first touches your space, the point where universal energy becomes personal. If the entryway is balanced, clean, and harmonious, it slows the incoming energy gently, allowing it to spread evenly throughout the home. But if the space is unbalanced, cluttered, misaligned, emotionally cold, it causes the Kai to either rush too fast, stagnate, or bounce back out. You can think of it like pouring water into a funnel that's tilted. Everything you pour leaks to one side. And then you wonder why the center of your home never feels centered. This unbalance affects every room it connects to. When your front door opens into a narrow, dark, or jarring layout, it sends a signal of urgency or disorientation to the body. People in these homes often report high stress, mental fog, and an inability to focus, especially within the first hour after entering. That's not just coincidence. Your nervous system is interpreting spatial tension before your conscious mind even notices. The 5-element model offers deeper insight. The entryway is ideally supported by earth energy, stable, grounding, and nurturing. But when this area is unbalanced, it often falls prey to metal dominance, coldness, rigidity, or excess water, emotional flooding, unclear boundaries. A front door that opens directly onto a staircase, for instance, creates a fast-moving vertical Kai that mimics a waterfall. Energy flows in and immediately drops. No time to pause, no space to absorb. Similarly, when the first thing you see is a cluttered coat rack, a pile of boxes, or a blank wall, there is no anchoring object for Kai to settle around. Imagine walking into a conversation and no one greets you. The energy doesn't feel invited, it feels dismissed. That's exactly how Kai behaves when your entryway lacks symbolic invitation. So what's the consequence? On the material level, money may come into your life, but feel ungraspable. You might get paid, then immediately feel short on funds. Business opportunities may show up, but never follow through. On the emotional level, motivation enters, then disappears. You walk into your home but don't feel arrived. Your mind stays in motion, your nervous system stays alert. Over time, this leads to chronic stress, difficulty sleeping, and a subtle but persistent feeling of never being caught up. Relationships can suffer too. If your doorway is narrow, overfilled, or aesthetically harsh, it mimics emotional congestion. Visitors may feel awkward or rushed. Partners might find themselves impatient for no clear reason. Even family members can feel like they're always stepping over something, both literally and emotionally. But here's the good news. Balance can be restored beautifully and simply. Begin with clearing the threshold. Sweep it daily. Remove anything not functional or beautiful. Replace the welcome mat with one that is new, grounded in color, earth tones, warm reds, muted gold, and laid evenly. This mat is not just for wiping shoes. It is your home's first energetic handshake. Make it feel intentional. Check your lighting. Switch harsh overhead bulbs for warm-toned wall sconces or even a soft table lamp nearby. Lighting that gently glows invites Kai to pause. If your entry is too dim, add mirrors, but be mindful of placement. Never let the mirror reflect the front door directly. Instead, angle it to expand the space without pushing energy back out. Introduce balancing symbols. A healthy plant to the side of the door, like a peace lily or snake plant. A wooden bowl to hold keys. Wood softens energy flow and absorbs tension. Artwork that depicts natural landscapes, gentle motion, or uplifting themes. If space allows, place a small round rug directly in the entry to slow Kai upon entry. Round shapes signify unity, and the rug anchors energy before it disperses. This simple shape alone can transform the emotional tone of your home. And most importantly, consider the emotional script your entryway is writing. Does it say, "This is a place of order, beauty, and clarity"? Or does it say, "I don't know where to put things and I'm constantly catching up"? Your environment doesn't just reflect you, it trains you. So as you stand in your doorway tonight, take a slow breath and ask, if energy arrived at my front door, would it feel like staying, or would it turn back around? Because the energy that greets your home first is the energy that decides whether abundance, peace, and opportunity will settle inside or slip away without ever ringing the bell. Number 5, sharp furniture edges, quiet conflict in every step. You may not see them anymore, but your body feels them. Those sharp edges around your home are not just design flaws. They are energy weapons, quietly cutting through your peace one step at a time. We often think of design in terms of beauty or function. How a coffee table fits into the room, how a shelf lines up with the wall, or how a chair angles toward the window. But in the deeper language of Feng Shui, every physical form holds energetic intention. And when the lines in your space are harsh, jagged, or overly angular, they don't just break visual harmony. They disrupt emotional flow, mental focus, and even the health of your relationships. One of the most common modern mistakes is the overuse of sharp-edged furniture. Square tables with pointed corners, beds flanked by boxy nightstands, dining chairs with narrow, angular backs, cabinets with jutting edges that align directly with walking paths. These forms are seen as minimalist or modern, but in Feng Shui, they represent a pattern of aggressive Kai, unsoftened, unfiltered, unwelcoming. The technical term for this is Sha Kai, translated as cutting energy or poison arrows. It refers to energy that moves too fast, too directly, or in a way that startles the natural field of the body. When these pointed forms face beds, seating areas, or doorways, they create unconscious tension. You may not think much of it, but your nervous system does. That small edge pointing at your legs while you sleep. Your body keeps a silent record. That sharp corner you constantly sidestep in the hallway. Your mind registers it as threat, even when you've adapted. Over time, this creates subtle internal conflict, leading to what Feng Shui identifies as chronic stress imprinting within the space. The 5 elements perspective gives us deeper insight. Sharp corners and angular forms often express excess metal energy, a quality that, when imbalanced, shows up as coldness, rigidity, judgment, and emotional suppression. Too much metal in your home, especially in social areas like the living room or dining space, can lead to irritability, critical communication, or emotional withdrawal. In relationships, you may notice more frequent misunderstandings, a tendency to interrupt each other, or a growing sense of emotional distance. In terms of personal well-being, the impact is just as real. Headaches, tight shoulders, tension in the jaw or digestive tract. These symptoms are often worsened in spaces filled with angular aggression. Children and pets tend to avoid these areas intuitively. Adults stay but adapt in silence, slouching in uncomfortable chairs, shifting to avoid corners, tolerating instead of relaxing. The result is a house that is organized but emotionally defensive. Financially, Sha Kai creates an atmosphere of misalignment. Instead of attracting steady, nourishing wealth energy, the space produces conflict-driven income, money that comes through pressure, overwork, or legal tension. Many people in homes filled with cutting energy patterns describe their career life as always needing to fight for everything. That's not just metaphor, it's energetic mirroring. Fortunately, you don't need to throw away all your furniture. You simply need to soften the edges of your environment and your experience will follow. Start by identifying the sharpest lines in your space. Focus on what points toward areas of stillness: beds, couches, desks, dining chairs. These are your energetic resting zones and should never be under attack. If a table edge points toward a bed, consider rotating the table slightly or draping it with a rounded edge runner. Use fabric, plants, or rounded trays to cap the point and disperse its intensity. In walkways, avoid alignment where a corner juts directly into your natural movement path. If unavoidable, buffer it with a tall plant or a floor lamp that creates a visual and energetic, soft stop. One powerful but overlooked strategy is using curved lighting, lamps with circular shades or arched stems. Light itself becomes a tool for redirecting Kai and reshaping space. If your chairs or cabinets feel too severe, balance them with textures and materials that counteract metal. Woven textiles, natural wood elements, or warm earth tones bring in earth and wood energy, stabilizing, grounding, and forgiving. Even a small woven basket placed beside a metallic furniture piece begins to shift the narrative from rigidity to rhythm. You can also introduce intentional symmetry: a soft rug beneath a hard coffee table, a rounded mirror above a square shelf, a soft throw blanket on a harsh-edged couch. These visual counterpoints do more than soothe the eye. They calm the subconscious, signaling that the space is safe, receptive, and balanced. But perhaps most importantly, notice how your body responds. Stand at your front door or in your bedroom doorway. Let your eyes scan the space. Where does your breath feel shallow? Where do your shoulders subtly lift? Where do your feet slow down, not because you're admiring beauty, but because you're avoiding discomfort? That's where the energy needs softening. That's where the fight is still active. And that's where peace is ready to return. So as you walk through your home today, ask yourself this: am I moving through my space or defending myself from it? Because a sharp edge might not leave a scar you can see, but it can cut your flow, your focus, and your joy. And when your home becomes gentle again, so can you. Number 6, stale air in the wealth corner, fortune that can't breathe. We often think fortune is blocked by big mistakes, but sometimes all it takes to stop abundance is a single corner that no longer breathes. Walk through your home right now. There's likely a space, maybe in the far left corner of your main room or tucked behind a cabinet, where the air feels still, the light barely reaches, and the energy just lingers. You may not spend time there, or maybe you've placed a decorative plant that hasn't grown in months. This is the kind of space most people forget. But in Feng Shui, this is often the wealth corner. And when it's stagnant, your prosperity becomes just as suffocated. According to the Bagua energy map, the far left corner of your main entrance-facing wall, when you stand at the front door looking in, governs wealth, abundance, and the resources you accumulate over time. This isn't just about money. It's about what supports your sense of stability, confidence, and opportunity. When this area is lively, airflow moves freely and light touches the space with warmth. Abundance becomes a living rhythm. But when this corner is closed off, heavy, dusty, or airless, you may begin to experience wealth that's hesitant, opportunities that pause, or even a feeling that no matter what you do, something isn't moving forward. The symbolic connection is simple but powerful. Wealth is a form of breath. In Feng Shui, air isn't just oxygen. It is Kai, the invisible current of life that carries energy from the outside world into your internal environment. When air stagnates, energy stagnates. And when energy stagnates in the wealth corner, fortune becomes blocked not through loss, but through suffocation. This often happens in rooms where furniture is placed too tightly in corners, where decorative objects block circulation, or where windows are never opened. Many people in pursuit of a clean look seal their wealth corner with heavy bookshelves, artificial plants, or ornate but unmoving displays. Others treat it as a storage zone. A printer stand, a forgotten filing cabinet, or a just-put-it-here-for-now pile that eventually became permanent. The Kai tries to enter, but it finds no room to settle, no light to rest in, no breath to move with. And then life follows suit. You might notice delayed payments, sudden repairs that drain savings, or feeling like money comes in and then disappears without clear reason. Or you may receive opportunities, but feel too scattered to act on them. In deeper cases, people begin to report emotional symptoms: anxiety around planning, fear of asking for more, difficulty trusting long-term stability. The common thread isn't always what's wrong, it's what's missing. Movement, breath, circulation. So how do you bring this space back to life? The first step is awareness. Stand in your front doorway and identify the far left corner of your main room. That's your wealth sector. Observe what's there, not just visually, but sensorially. How does the air feel? Is there light? Does the space feel inviting or ignored? If the air feels stale, open a nearby window, even if only for 10 minutes a day. This is one of the simplest yet most effective practices in energetic design. Next, remove anything that blocks airflow: tall furniture, excessive decor, artificial plants with dust buildup. Allow the corner to breathe again. Introduce natural elements that promote life and movement. A small fan or diffuser that keeps the air gently circulating. A live plant, not artificial, preferably with rounded leaves like jade or money tree, symbolizing growth that is continuous and soft. A bowl of citrus peel or natural potpourri, refreshed weekly, to reintroduce fragrance and subtle vibrancy. Consider lighting as breath's companion. Add a soft lamp with a warm bulb that you turn on during key hours, especially in the evening. Light is a signal to energy. This space is alive. This space is watched. This space matters. You can also place symbolic objects that hold wealth intention, but do so sparingly. One crystal cluster, one prosperity symbol, or one handwritten note tucked beneath a candle that reads, "I invite aligned abundance." Minimalism here isn't about design. It's about allowing Kai to move, settle, and accumulate, like still water forming a lake. And perhaps most meaningfully, spend time near this space. Sit beside it to plan your week. Read a book nearby. Water the plant with a few minutes of presence. Because the energy you offer becomes the message you send. I'm ready to tend to the part of me that receives. Now pause and reflect. If your wealth corner had a voice, what would it say? Would it whisper, "Thank you for noticing me"? Or would it exhale, relieved that after all this time, you finally opened the window? Because in the end, abundance doesn't arrive through force. It arrives where there is space to breathe. And your corner, your Kai, has been waiting to exhale. Number 7. Misused mirror near kitchen, fire and reflection in conflict. It looks elegant, expands the space, and reflects light. So how could a mirror near your kitchen possibly be a problem? In Feng Shui, this one design choice could be doubling your exhaustion instead of your fortune. Modern design often celebrates the clever use of mirrors, to make small rooms feel larger, to reflect light, and to create a sense of openness. And in many spaces, mirrors do exactly that. But the kitchen is not like other rooms. It's not just a functional space. In the energy map of the home, the kitchen is the hearth, the place of fire, nourishment, and abundance. And when we place a mirror near it without understanding its energetic consequences, we inadvertently invite imbalance between reflection and flame, between multiplication and burnout. A common situation, the mirror backsplash. It's sleek, it brightens the area, and many homeowners believe it invites wealth by doubling the food or doubling the stove. Others might hang a decorative mirror across from the kitchen entrance or behind the dining area where the stove is in view. At first glance, it may seem harmless or even beneficial, but in Feng Shui, this combination creates an elemental contradiction that can disrupt more than just design harmony. Here's why. Mirrors belong to the water element, fluid, reflective, adaptable. The kitchen, by contrast, is governed by fire, transformational, active, vital. When a water element like a mirror directly reflects or faces a fire element like a stove, it's as if you're putting out your own energetic flame every time you cook. The reflective surface doesn't double fortune. It splits the fire, dispersing its energy and weakening the kitchen's role as a life-giving center. This energetic confusion affects more than the space. It shapes how you live inside it. Kitchens with mirrored surfaces near or opposite stoves often feel slightly off. People describe tension while cooking, increased family conflict during meals, or even a lack of desire to be in the kitchen. On a deeper level, this setup can disrupt digestion, diminish vitality, and contribute to decision fatigue. A sense of always being mentally overstimulated but emotionally ungrounded. In terms of financial flow, this layout can create a cycle of energy that mimics its symbolic tension. Income comes in bursts, but effort feels doubled. Wealth arrives, but gets consumed just as quickly. It becomes harder to accumulate, not because you're spending irresponsibly, but because the energy of containment has been compromised. The flame that once represented stable growth becomes scattered across mirrored surfaces, constantly reflecting back your output, but never grounding your gain. Emotionally, this tension shows up as mental overactivity and emotional burnout. You might find yourself feeling fine in the morning, but drained by evening. Even when you cook nourishing meals, the kitchen doesn't feel like a source of life. It feels like a task. Over time, relationships that revolve around mealtime, family dinners, quiet breakfasts, shared routines start to fray. Not out of neglect, but because the fire that once held them together is quietly being reflected away. So what can you do if a mirror already exists in or near your kitchen? The first solution is containment. If the mirror directly reflects the stove, consider softening its influence by framing it in a material that balances the elemental clash. A wooden frame, representing the wood element, acts as a bridge between water and fire, allowing the two to interact more harmoniously. Similarly, adding warm lighting or earth-toned accents near the mirror can rebalance the energetic dynamic. If the mirror is decorative and not structural, consider moving it to a location where it reflects natural light or greenery, both of which enhance Kai without conflicting with fire energy. If removing or relocating it isn't possible, you can apply symbolic buffering. Use a sheer fabric, a bamboo screen, or even a row of potted herbs to disrupt the direct reflection between mirror and stove. Think of it like introducing a pause in the energetic conversation. In more modern kitchens where mirrored backsplashes are fixed, you can add intentional anchors. A small bowl of coarse salt beneath the mirror to absorb excess water Kai. A candle lit intentionally while cooking to remind fire to stay centered. A handwritten affirmation tucked behind a plant. The fire that nourishes us stays strong. And perhaps the most overlooked shift, your attention. Spend time in your kitchen without rushing. Touch the countertop with presence. Breathe before turning on the stove. These subtle acts remind your inner system that this is not just a room, it is a ritual. And fire, more than anything, responds to presence. So now, take a moment to imagine your kitchen. What does it reflect, literally and symbolically? Does it feel like a place where you're fed and fueled? Or has it become a mirror of your overwhelm, always moving, always demanding more? Because at the heart of Feng Shui is this one truth: what reflects you shapes you. And if your kitchen is the flame of your life, the last thing it needs is to be mirrored away. So ask yourself gently, is my kitchen amplifying my energy or diffusing it before it can nourish me? And if the answer calls for change, start small, reframe the mirror, relight the flame. And let your home remember how to hold your fire again. Section 2. Signs of good energy flow. Number 1. The rug that traps instead of grounds. We choose rugs to make our homes feel warmer, cozier, more anchored. But what if the very rug beneath your feet is quietly trapping the energy you're trying to release? It sounds counterintuitive. A rug, by design, is meant to ground. It softens footsteps, creates boundaries in open space, and invites comfort beneath furniture. In Feng Shui, rugs often symbolize earth energy, stable, supportive, a place where energy can settle. But not all grounding is healthy. Some forms of grounding become stagnation, and in many homes, a single misplaced or misused rug becomes an energetic sponge, absorbing tension, dulling clarity, and blocking flow without anyone realizing it. Let's look at a common situation. You place a large rug under your coffee table. Maybe it stretches wall to wall, sits under heavy furniture, or features dense patterns in deep, muted tones. Over time, the rug becomes invisible. You vacuum it occasionally, but rarely move what's on top. You may not remember the last time you lifted it. What was once a symbol of warmth and style becomes an anchor that's no longer supporting energy, but holding it hostage. From a spatial design perspective, rugs define zones. But from a Feng Shui lens, they also direct how Kai flows, slows, or stops. A rug that is too heavy, too large, or trapped beneath unmoving furniture creates an energetic compression. It locks energy into a corner, literally. If the rug absorbs negative emotions, arguments in the living room, restless sleep, mental overthinking, and it's never energetically cleared, it begins to store these vibrations. That's how earth element shifts from grounding to burdening. Another often overlooked detail is pattern and material. Rugs with overly complex, aggressive designs, tight geometrics, sharp contrast, or chaotic color combinations can create what Feng Shui calls visual Kai entanglement. The eye doesn't rest. The body doesn't soften. Instead of calming the space, the rug introduces micro-agitation, especially when combined with cluttered furniture layouts or low ceilings. And when the rug is made of synthetic fibers that don't breathe, it adds another layer of disconnection from natural flow. So what does this mean for your home? If you've been feeling mentally stuck, creatively uninspired, or emotionally weighed down, it's worth looking down, literally. The rug beneath your feet may be amplifying the sense of heaviness, especially if it sits in key energy zones like your living room, relationship Kai, under your bed, restorative Kai, or in your entrance area, welcoming Kai. A stuck rug begins to influence how easily energy can circulate through your daily rituals. Physically, this might translate into tight joints, poor posture, or discomfort sitting on the floor. Emotionally, you may feel like your thoughts keep looping. Conversations in the space may feel repetitive or unresolved. Financially, grounding that has turned into energetic blockage can manifest as delays in payments, lack of forward motion in business, or long stretches where progress feels like it's dragging despite effort. So how do you shift the rug's role from trap to anchor? Start with intention. Lift the rug even just partially. Break the energetic seal. Let the floor breathe. If you can, shake it outside or air it under the sun for an hour. This not only refreshes the fabric, it symbolically liberates what's been compressed. While it's lifted, clean the floor beneath it. Light incense or diffuse an oil like cedarwood, sweet orange, or sage, natural scents that restore earth element balance. If the rug is too large or immobile, you can symbolically lighten it by placing a small bowl of coarse salt in each corner of the room overnight. Salt draws out energetic residue and can be discarded the next day to release what the rug has been holding. Then ask yourself, does this rug truly serve the room's purpose? If the rug is in your creative zone, opt for something lighter in tone with organic shapes or soft curves. If it's in your sleeping area, choose rugs that evoke calm. Simple patterns, natural fibers, and muted earth or wood tones like beige, moss green, or light terracotta. For shared family areas, rugs with round or oval shapes help soften dynamics and promote cooperation. And finally, keep the rug part of your ongoing awareness. Every 2 weeks, touch it with intention. Sit on it. Kneel to clean it with mindfulness. Even this small act transforms the rug from a passive object to a conscious partner in your space. It becomes not just something beneath you, but something in relationship with your energy. So the next time you walk into your living room or stretch your toes into your rug after a long day, pause and feel the surface. Is it grounding you, or is it silently holding you back? Because in Feng Shui, grounding isn't about weight, it's about support. And sometimes, releasing what we think is holding us together is the first step to letting new energy in. Number 2, the picture you don't like anymore. It's just a picture on the wall, right? But in Feng Shui, what you no longer love may quietly be imprinting emotions you no longer want. We've all done it. Hung a painting or photo years ago because it matched the color scheme, filled an empty space, or was a gift from someone we didn't want to offend. Maybe at the time it spoke to us, or at least didn't bother us. But over time, something shifted. You stopped really seeing it. Or worse, you saw it and felt something you couldn't name, a subtle discomfort, a dull heaviness, maybe even a momentary unease before your mind quickly moved on. And so it stayed, because taking it down felt unnecessary, or maybe you didn't know what to replace it with. But in Feng Shui, this seemingly small decision is not just about taste or aesthetics. It's about resonance. And a picture you no longer connect with becomes a silent vibration of emotional misalignment, broadcast daily into your space. Let's be clear, art carries Kai. Not just because of what it shows, but because of how it was chosen, what it represents, and where it sits in your energy field. When you hang a picture, you're installing more than an image. You're inviting a symbolic presence into your home. And every time you pass by, even without conscious attention, your body and subconscious register its frequency. If the image is lonely, harsh, dark, or emotionally empty, those qualities start to seed into your energetic atmosphere. A stormy seascape in your bedroom might invite unrest. A painting of a solitary figure in your relationship zone can amplify feelings of isolation. Even a family photo from a time that holds unresolved pain can keep those memories emotionally active, anchoring your space to a past you've already outgrown. The most common mistake isn't placing something bad, it's allowing something unfelt to remain. An image you no longer like, or even feel indifferent toward, begins to dull the Kai in that area of your life. In Feng Shui, this often affects spaces tied to wealth, southeast, relationships, southwest, creativity, west, or clarity, north. And over time, you might notice exactly those areas beginning to feel unclear or emotionally foggy. The consequences are subtle but real. Mentally, you may feel blocked in decision-making or uninspired. Emotionally, a flatness or sense of detachment can begin to creep in. Relationally, miscommunication or apathy might emerge, especially if the image reflects loneliness or conflict. Energetically, you may feel like something is off, but can't quite explain what. So how do you shift this? Start with a walk through your home. Don't look for what's beautiful, look for what feels emotionally neutral or subtly uncomfortable. Ask yourself, do I still feel aligned with this image? Does it uplift me, reflect who I am now, or hold meaning I want to keep alive? If the answer is no, then that artwork, no matter how expensive or well-placed, has become an energetic anchor that no longer serves you. You don't need to remove it harshly. Take it down gently. Thank it for its time. Acknowledge what it held for you, perhaps a version of yourself, a phase of life, or a past relationship, and then let it go. Even this small act is a powerful declaration. I choose to surround myself with energy that reflects who I'm becoming, not who I've been. When selecting new artwork, choose intuitively, not just decoratively. Look for pieces that evoke movement, connection, softness, or vitality. If it's a landscape, let it breathe with light and openness. If it's abstract, let it evoke curiosity or peace. If it's personal, like a family photo, make sure it's from a time that brings warmth, not residue. For rooms that need more Kai flow, like the entryway or home office, opt for art that shows pathways, open skies, or natural elements in harmony. For bedrooms or relationship zones, choose art with pairs, 2 birds, 2 trees, 2 hands reaching. These images carry not only visual balance but symbolic invitation for harmony. And don't underestimate frames. A sharp, heavy frame around a gentle picture can distort its energy. A broken frame, even if the picture inside is beautiful, holds fractured symbolism. Choose soft, natural materials, wood, light metals, bamboo, especially in spaces that seek emotional warmth. To seal the energetic renewal, you might light a stick of sandalwood incense or diffuse rose and geranium oils as you hang the new piece. Whisper a simple intention. Let this image remind me of what I now invite into my life. Because when you honor what you see, you shape what you receive. So now look around your space. Is there a picture on your wall that you keep simply because it's been there a long time? One you no longer connect to? One you avoid noticing? What might happen if you took it down, not to remove beauty, but to make space for alignment? Because the walls that surround you aren't just holding pictures, they're holding your story. And every image you choose is another sentence in the script of your life. What will you hang next? Number 3, the fake plant in the wealth corner. It may look green, it may look perfect, but in Feng Shui, a fake plant in your wealth corner isn't holding fortune, it's holding stillness. There's a quiet comfort in artificial plants. They're maintenance-free. They always look fresh. And for many people trying to beautify their space on a budget or a tight schedule, they seem like the perfect solution. You place one in the far left corner of your living room, the classic Feng Shui wealth corner, hoping it will bring abundance, vitality, and upward growth. But months go by. The space looks fine, but something feels stuck. And eventually, the corner becomes part of the visual background, present but lifeless. In Feng Shui, we work not just with form, but with life force. The wealth corner, based on the Bagua map, governs prosperity, accumulation, and long-term resource flow. This corner is ideally energized with wood element energy, represented by upward movement, healthy plants, and natural life. The wood element needs to breathe, stretch, grow, and renew. It reflects our capacity to receive and expand abundance over time. A real plant responds to the energy around it. If the space is thriving, it flourishes. If the space is stagnant, it begins to show signs: drooping leaves, yellowing tips, slow or halted growth. It gives you feedback. In this way, it becomes a living barometer of your financial energy. A fake plant, by contrast, remains unchanged, regardless of the energy field. It's a fixed image of what looks like life but doesn't breathe, evolve, or respond. Symbolically, this sends a subtle message to your subconscious. Growth is frozen here. You may not realize it, but energetically, your space is saying, let's keep things looking successful, even if nothing is actually growing. It's the energetic equivalent of a smile that doesn't reach the eyes. Over time, this mismatch creates a disconnect between what's being projected and what's being lived. Many people who place fake plants in their wealth corner unknowingly experience the consequences Feng Shui calls false Kai, energy that appears aligned on the surface but is hollow underneath. This can manifest in real-life ways. You might feel like you're doing all the right things, working hard, staying organized, but the results aren't matching the effort. Financially, income may be steady but flat with few breakthroughs. Emotionally, you may feel a growing sense of detachment from your goals, like you've built the structure, but the life force is missing. Spiritually, it can lead to a sense of stagnation masked as stability, as though you're stuck in a loop where nothing gets worse, but nothing truly evolves either. From a five-element perspective, fake plants confuse the energetic dialogue. They imitate the wood element but lack its living Kai. This imbalance can suffocate fire energy, which fuels motivation and passion, and overemphasize metal energy, which governs perfectionism, rigidity, and overthinking. The result, a home that looks complete but feels emotionally still, like a paused movie on a screen that never plays forward. So how do you restore flow to this corner? Start by simply acknowledging the intention behind the fake plant. It was likely placed with care. It meant something, and that matters. Then ask yourself honestly, is this object supporting energy or simulating it? If the answer feels uncertain, it's time to refresh the space. You don't have to invest in a complicated garden. Replace the fake plant with a living, low-maintenance one. A jade plant, pothos, or ZZ plant, all symbols of slow, steady growth. These plants tolerate a variety of light levels and are incredibly forgiving. Their presence begins to reawaken the space, not just visually, but energetically. If you're not ready to replace the fake plant immediately, consider transforming its role. Pair it with living elements: a small water fountain, a bowl of river stones infused with essential oils like rosemary or citrus, or a daily ritual like lighting a candle or incense near it. The key is to invite movement back into the space. Even sound, like soft wind chimes nearby, can gently break the stillness and begin to reanimate the energy field. Another powerful upgrade: intention placement. Beneath the plant, or within a small box nearby, place a handwritten affirmation. Growth is alive here, or I invite true prosperity. Read it aloud when you water nearby plants or start your morning. Let it become a bridge between symbol and reality. From a design perspective, you can enhance this area further with natural textures. Wooden frames, woven baskets, cotton fabric, anything that reintroduces organic feeling. The Wealth Corner thrives when it reflects not just more, but meaningful movement, signs that life is growing in slow, visible ways. And finally, observe what shifts, not just in your space, but in your mindset. Do you find yourself making decisions more easily? Does clarity around finances return? Do you feel more engaged with the vision you've set for your life? Because in Feng Shui, it's never just about what's there. It's about what it's doing to your energy. So pause and ask yourself, is the plant in my wealth corner truly alive, or is it just pretending to be? And if you gave your prosperity space something real to grow with, what might begin to blossom both around you and within you? Final, what your home reflects, it multiplies. This wasn't just a conversation about corners, objects, or the placement of plants. It was a quiet return to the spaces you no longer see, but still live in every single day. Because a home is not built from bricks alone, it's built from choices, the silent kind, the unnoticed kind, the kind that stay long after their meaning has faded, that picture you no longer love, that rug you haven't lifted in years. That fake plant meant to symbolize growth, but never once moved with the air. They remain not because we cherish them, but because we stopped asking whether they still belong. Today wasn't about judging your space. It was about awakening to it. Realizing that the energy you've been searching for, clarity, peace, progress, was never fully outside your grasp. It may have been muffled in stale air, reflected in a misplaced mirror, or trapped in the texture of something that no longer breathes. Your home is a mirror of your attention, and the beauty of that truth is this: with even the smallest shift in awareness, something soft begins to move. A breeze, a current, a breath. You begin to feel the quiet weight of things you forgot were pressing down. And when you see them, really see them, something opens, not loudly, not dramatically, but enough. So maybe tonight, instead of scrolling or rushing through the evening, you'll walk the edge of your living room and notice which object your eyes always avoid. Maybe you'll sit in the corner that always feels heavy and finally ask it why. Maybe you'll touch that one item, not to move it yet, but simply to say, I remember you're here. Because sometimes, all it takes to shift the course of your life is to ask the smallest question of the quietest thing. What in your home is still living with you, long after you've stopped living with it?